Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the Daily Tune In. Today is Thursday. I was just getting a couple things set up here for uh, a visual for our Daily Tune In. Okay. How is everybody? Welcome. Hi, Liza. Welcome, Michelle. Hello from sunny, cold Saskatchewan. No lemons growing here, but the snow is pure white. Shore white. I don't have my glasses on, so I saw it as pure. So I guess that would work too. Um, yeah, good morning, Jeannie, Jessica, Carol. Hi, love to you as well. Love right back to you. Welcome, everyone. I am here. Hi, Alicia. And in Saranda, it was a good day today. It was just just a quiet day. It was nice. Bud and I walked down and got some. We're trying to find all of our little places. I think that's the most fun part about moving to a new place is when you start to walk around the town and you find like your favorite bakery. We went to the second bakery, another bakery today for the second time because we really liked the bread we got a couple weeks ago. So we're starting to starting to find our little local places that we go for bread and for baklava and for our afternoon snacks or whatever. We usually during our walk we'll stop and either get a sweet snack or a savory snack and go and sit by the water and split it. So we're kind of figuring out what our routine is here, and it's really enjoyable doing that. So I come to you full of peace and full of joy today, and excited for this message, actually. And it was one that I wasn't really expecting. But again, in my 3 a.m. communal time with my own team, I was up on this couch staring out the window watching the night sky go by. It's the coolest thing just to be able to sit there and I just watch. I watch the night sky, and it just changes when it's a clear night. The clouds have rolled in today, but in the morning hours it was pretty clear. And as I was just kind of tuning in and figuring out like what's my message right now? What do I need to be contemplating when everything is quiet and the dogs are quiet and I have this time in the early hours of the day? I absolutely love that time. Although I wouldn't choose 3 a.m., but it doesn't seem to bother me at all. It just seems that's been really it seems the wake up call that I get, and I know a lot of you get that as well. And I've come to the point now where I welcome it in because I feel like I'm the only one in the world up, be in the night sky, and I'm a clear vessel at that point. So the message that came in today was kind of a deeper plunge into the message from yesterday, which was all about um, integrating our frayed lines, right? Our frayed, fragmented pieces in order to get to our, what I'm going to call our fifth dimensional expression, our higher consciousness, um, our soul, a full soul expression, our full truthful expression, whatever works best for you. We are rising up in consciousness during this time to come back into the truth of who each of us is here expressly to express in our own unique form. So we each have a mission here, and it's just to be fully us. And I think that's the coolest mission. And at the same time, I don't know why it's been hard for many of us in humanity. Billions of people have come into this world and allowed themselves for the most part to be fragmented into these different ego personalities, and now we are kind of wheeling ourselves back into a unified, integrated human being, a spiritual being having a human experience. And when I talk about fragmented parts of us, I kind of put this together to give you some visual. So if we have like these are the main aspects of our lives in human form. We have these aspects, there's the spiritual part of us, and then there's a part of us that's that has the career and the finances. There's a part of us that deals with the finances. There's a part of us that is creative. It looks upside down, but it's kind of a weird visual to make. So I'm like, does it go on the top or the bottom? But creativity, health, and well-being. There's a part of us that tunes into that, and we end up kind of fragmenting our lives in that 3D version, in that the lower consciousness of operation in 3D and 3D consciousness is all about who, when I go to church, this is how I dress, this is what I do, this is how I be, this is how I show up at church. And then on Monday, I'm going to go to my career. And I'm probably going to be someone a little bit different than I would be if I was at home, right? And then from who I am at home, I might be a little bit different if I'm, talking about my health and wellness. Maybe I'm super healthy and I live that kind of lifestyle, or maybe I'm not so healthy and I live a lifestyle that causes me dis-ease in mental, physical, and emotional ways. Who knows? Um, and then who we are, like, for social and for fun. Do we allow ourselves to be fun? So all of us at one point or another have these different personalities in the 3D, and that's why we start to have these fragmented pieces of ourselves, because this is a timeline in and of itself. Each of these is a different timeline. So if you have yourself in the third dimensional, just think about the collective. We still have majority of the collective that is in that 3D consciousness. So we have these fragmented souls that are, maybe completely closed off to their spirituality. Most people are. They don't know that they're spiritual beings. They think that they're these human beings. Or maybe they subscribe to a religion and subscribe to the dogma that they're given. And this is a timeline, who you are when you go to church. And then when you go into this timeline keeps going. Okay. So then you go to work, and let's say you have, over the course of just this one life that you've had maybe how many jobs, how many different iterations of professional or entrepreneur have you been, so that you could maybe support yourself. And when you left one job and went into another, or one career and went into another, you know, many times we didn't fully close down the old expression of how we showed up in that career, and we just started a new one. So there are these different fragmented timelines that are still running in the background energetically if you didn't fully close them down properly. And that's what leads then to an even more fragmented soul, or fragmented um, ego personality. So now you have, like, back in the day, you have like this part of you that was like there's this part of me that was a project manager, and I didn't fully close that timeline. So this one's still kind of open and running in the background. And then I had another career where I was a district sales manager. And when I left that, I was so frazzled. I was so, like, my whole life fell apart, because I was like, screw this job. I'm giving it up. I don't care how much money I make. It's making me crazy. And I just quit it. And I walked away, but with energy still there. So I have had that for the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years, running in the background. Then there was this iteration of my career where I was a makeup artist for a little bit, and it was fun creatively, but I kind of left it, because it was just like that whole, like, makeup artistry retail world is like drama city, and it was way too much for me. Even back in the day, before I knew about this conversation, I just knew that I was like, I am out of here, because I mean, I've been called crazy, but working in cosmetics was a whole different thing. So when I left, I was like, bye bye. But I left some energy there. So there's another timeline that's been open in the background. Now, if you take that same metaphor to your phone, now we know enough with our electronics, that if I have a full charge on my phone, but I go all throughout the day having all of these apps open, then even though I might be just working, I might just be on, I don't know, Telegram, in the background, those other apps are still open, and they are still pulling energy from my phone, and my phone's health and wellness is going to go down faster because I have all of these apps open. That was the message that came through. So, yesterday we talked about integrating back into the unified field of truth in for each of us by first answering the call when you are called to go back in time to spend time in a previous lifetime. Now, we could talk about previous lifetimes back in the 1600s or whenever you've had, many lifetimes, no doubt. But I'm just talking about this one just to keep it really practical. And as we said yesterday, in my 47 years of I've had several lifetimes. I've had a lifetime of, spirituality. I have a lifetime where I was raised Catholic, and then a lifetime where I was nothing, wasn't atheist. I was just like silent. And then I had this lifetime where I became, more in on the route, or the I wanted more knowledge. I was a seeker. I wanted more. So I have this, I've had several different spirituality timelines that are open. So, what we're being asked to do is, as we are in these final upgrades, these final preparations for whatever the shift is going to be, whether it's going to be today or whether it's going to be in 2027, I don't know, but it's going to take as long as it takes us to do this kind of stuff. So if you just sit around and just wait for the shift to come, you're kind of on pause, right? You're just sitting here with 13 thousand apps open on your smart body, and you're just letting energy be sucked away from these things that are open in the background. So if we just continue to do our work, we can pull this shift in faster for the entire planet. But we don't do that by just sitting there. We still have work to do. We still have these things that we are being required to do. So when you are invited back, and what I mean by that is, if you get the thought to go back to, a lifetime, a time, maybe it was high school, maybe it was an old relationship, maybe it was an old job. Like what I was talking about with my career, I've got some career timelines that I still have energy about. I have resentment towards like corporate America, and because I have a couple of jobs that had sucked my energy so badly that when I walked away, I kind of walked away with my finger up saying, take this job and shove it. And I've never like walked off the job. I've always given my notice. I've always done it right, but I've still done it so that the last day I get in my car, I'm like, never again. Take that job and shove it. I will never be a district manager again. I learned that lesson. But when I said I learned that lesson, there's still energy there, which means there is an open timeline. So how we're being called to do this is, when you get the nudge, and I know many of you are, because we talked about it on the Ascension Circle gathering, and I know a lot of you shared that you're having dreams that's taking you back to an old relationship. You're like, what? This old relationship? But again, you're being invited back to take a look at that relationship from who you are now. So when you go back and you get these nudges or urges to contemplate a time, to revisit a time. It's not, remember, like we've been so conditioned in the spiritual world. There's some misinformation in this world too. It's like, oh, let go of the past. Don't go back to the past. It's no longer there. You can't change it. And yet we can consciously go back, visit it from an observer perspective, from a higher consciousness where we operate now. Look at that time, look at that situation. I can look at my old job and say, where is the energy here? Where is the energy? And here's the energy, and like here's what the lesson. Remember yesterday we talked about extracting any lessons that were left there in that timeline that maybe we missed because we couldn't see it at the level of consciousness that we were at when we were in it, right? But because we are no longer in that reality, we are no longer in that quote unquote lifetime or that past, we are at a different consciousness. So we can still see it. We can still we can still connect to it in consciousness, extract the lessons that maybe we missed so that we have all of the knowledge, all of the light, all of the wisdom that was there for us to extract from that experience. And not only that, here's where we take it even deeper. This is the deeper part of it that came in today. When you are there, when you can then see and observe that relationship, that job, that situation, whatever the role is, whatever the area is, and you can look at it and have zero energy going out. You're at that 0 point, no energy going out. There's nothing coming in. You're at peace with it. Then consciously you say, that's where you scroll up, right? That's where you scroll up and you close down that timeline. So that scroll up is whatever you're called to do with like what works for you. You can invoke, just invoke and say, I let go and I release that timeline now. I close that timeline with so much gratitude for all the lessons that I learned from it. And then you consciously closed it down. Okay. So that can no longer suck you. You're at peace with it. Then you go to the next, like, what's something else that's still triggers me? The interesting thing was one of the things that I was taken back to today was at an old job. It came out of nowhere, and I was taken to just a one conversation I had with a coworker. This is about 15 years ago, when I was a district sales manager. And it was just like this weird comment that she made that has stuck with me for these 15 years. I'm like, I think that was a dig, and I'm kind of wanting to still be pissed about it. So it was funny because I've thought about it here and there, but I would never claim it as something that I was like still holding and carrying around. But there was a fragmented part of me that was still had energy around that one stupid conversation. So when I went back there like today, I was like literally kind of giggling about it, because I'm like, oh my gosh, this matters enough that I have to like consciously shut down this timeline. But it did. I understood that, yes, like it's these stupid simple things that still suck our energy from behind our consciousness, from being in the subconscious, in the unconscious. So if you are called to go back to something so random, just be with it and ask the question, why am I being brought here? Why am I being brought back? My consciousness being steered back to this time, and see where the energy is, clear it, come to peace at it. And then once it was cleared, I just said, I let go of that timeline. I had no idea it was there. Thank you for showing me that. And now it's cleared. So we are like we are doing the final cleanse, but we have to close down these timelines that are still open, and we have not even realized some of them are obviously still open, right? We can look back at parts of our life, and I know that I've got them too. I've got current ones where I'm like, oh, yeah. And it's an everyday practice. That is my practice, to work on those timelines that I know have a lot of energy in them. And that is obvious work that we are all doing. And yet there's also these subtle energy drains, these timelines in the background. And you'll have, Canva is an app I use quite often, usually on my computer, but sometimes I'll download something that I've done from Canva, and then I'll just do kind of like the little get rid of that, go back to Instagram, paste it, completely forget that I've left Canva open for a little while, and I have zero need for it at all, but yet it's still sucking my thing, my battery, my energy. So those are the things that we have to be aware of when we're called to go back a little bit into the past, take a little time travel, and sit with that time so that you can extract. Again, I'm going to just keep doing this so we get it here. Extracting all the last richness from that lesson. We already relived it, so we might as well get all the goodness from it, even if it feels like it was a horrible experience. Obviously, from a higher perspective, from this perspective where we are anchoring in those fifth dimensional frequencies, those unified frequencies, where we are now unified as a multidimensional being. when we come and look at situations that used to be challenging, we now know that everything is in our highest and best good. So when we looked at old situations, we will be able to extract more from it that we couldn't do it when we were in it. So we're extracting all the richness from it, all of the abundance, all of the light, all of the knowledge, and then at that point, giving great thanks for that lifetime, giving great thanks for everything it delivered, and consciously saying, or do whatever your practice is, consciously just invoking the closing and the what's the word that what's the title of this thing? Hold on one second. I don't want to say closing, but I don't want to say purging. We're not purging the timeline. We're just shutting it down. That's shutting it down. And we are invoking the shutdown of that particular timeline. And at the end of this work, when the shift comes for us, it will be when majority of the collective consciousness is in a unified consciousness individually. And of course, when more individuals do this work to shut down old timelines running in the background, then collectively we'll have more people that expand and multiply that unified field, which then invites in and calls in the great shift, because we will be ready, and this unified field will be able to hold those higher frequencies of what we'll call the fifth dimensional, reality. The fifth dimensional reality is simply a reality that vibrates at a higher level of frequency, and we have to be able to hold that frequency to live in it. And these old things, these old timelines running in the background, a lot of them, if they have energy running, they are at that lower consciousness in which you left that timeline, but it's still running. It can't resonate with that higher frequency. So, but when you close it down, it then disappears, so to speak. It goes back into the Akashic record. There's, where it goes, it doesn't matter unless it matters to you. And then you can do your research. You can figure that out. But for the purpose of this message, we want to get as many of those timelines closed down so we have one unified timeline, because in 5D, all of these, your whole entire life is an integrated expression of all of these in every given moment. Okay. I'm hoping this makes sense. It made perfect sense to me this morning. I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I get it. I get why we're doing it. But I like that we were kind of taken into, here's a purpose for it yesterday. And now we're going to go a little bit deeper. So we're not getting plunged all the way into all of the work. It's just start here. Now go a little bit deeper, shut down that timeline. And there might be something more. I'm not sure. But I will say it's interesting because I'm talking about shutting down timelines. And we got a notification today that this whole region, and I'm not really sure what that means, if it's just Saranda or if it's like the whole country or like region, but the whole region is going to be out of power tomorrow, which I'm like, that's interesting. The reason is that they're doing some kind of work, but I didn't like, it was weird enough where I was kind of like, what kind of work? Didn't really explain it. So, my antenna is up, my radar is up as to what might this be, what could be happening, not in like a paranoid way, but how does this fit in to all of the higher energies that are coming in? Things are being shut down. We've talked about like things might be going dark, right? That was last week. To remember that the world is going to go dark in a spiritual way, in an emotional way, and in a physical way. So in my world tomorrow, it's going to be dark for most of the day. Therefore, I will not be putting out an email or anything about the daily tune-in, because I'm not sure the electric's supposed to come back on at 4:00 my time, which is when I do these. But I don't want to promise to be here and then not be here and have something happen like it did on Monday. So if we have electric, then I will just pop on here at 4. And if y'all are like browsing by YouTube at 4, whatever time it is for you, then you can see, like, hit the notification thing and you'll be notified if I go live. But chances are I've come to learn that things are a little bit they say one time, but it's usually 2 or 3 hours after that, so I'm not making any promises. So that's the message. Let's see what you guys have to say. Aloha. Good morning from my froggy self. Uh-oh, Tara. It's all good. It's clearing up. Your froggy self, the throat chakra is getting a good old cleanse. Love your sweater. Thank you. I got this in Ukraine. Good morning. So I feel like I wear the same clothes, and I do. I haven't found any like clothing stores here that I'm, eager to go in. I don't like shopping at all. And we have been on the road for a year now, living in the same clothes and the same. So I feel like I wear the same thing. I mean, I do, but it's getting old. But I've been looking around here and I haven't really seen anything that's interesting. So it's an interesting adventure I have with this whole wardrobe thing. Reminds me of when we used to have to defrag our computers back in the day. Yeah, we have to cleanse, right? We've got to update the computers. We've got to defrag. So we are defragging our old timelines that have been running in the background. And here's the thing: it's not scary at all, but the interesting part of it for me is how many, and it could be just short little jaunts like that conversation I was telling you about at the job like 15 years ago. It was like some random conversation. That only took like a minute, for me to go there and be like, oh, I'm coming back to this lifetime because of that conversation. Oh, I'm so over that now. Like I can release that. I can release that energy. Like I know she didn't mean it that way. And I'm like, yep, shut that one down. We're good. And I came back. So these little time travel experiences or these small invitations to go back could be like really quick little jaunts, or they could be like there's other things in my life that's every day. I'm like, here we are again back in this lifetime. I'm going to cleanse a little bit more because it's not just an easy shutdown. I still need um, that timeline open to keep working through and extracting the lessons. But in these lifetimes that I'm doing that in, and I'm extracting the lessons that are still hard, that still have some energy around them, and still releasing. And like I talk about it here, but the one lifetime that I'm working on is my first lifetime as a wife. I'm not living that lifetime anymore, but I'm still going through a lot of work, cleansing and clearing and extracting all of the lessons that maybe I missed when I was still going through divorce and that marriage and going through all of the, co-parenting stuff afterwards. And there was a lot of yuck there. So there's a lot I can't close down that timeline yet because there's still a lot of energy there. So when you can come into these quick moments like today, where that quick conversation, that was an easy one. I'm like, yep, get rid of that one. It's one less I have to worry about. So just pay attention to what's happening. So I'm not telling you what to do. I would suggest not avoiding going back into that timeline. And it doesn't mean, here's one last thing to this that I think is quite freeing. When we go back to these timelines, okay? So when I go back to a difficult timeline where there's still a lot of energy, whatever the piece is for the healing in that moment, for the lesson to be extracted, it's all in consciousness, right? I'm not then being like, oh, here I am. Now I've got to make a phone call. I got to text somebody. I got to make contact. This is all being done in consciousness. This is the biggest like aha in that, like a lot of our issues and challenges can be taken care of in consciousness, because once you shift, the whole timeline shifts, right? So once that timeline shifts and it shifts up into a higher frequency, now you have a higher perspective. So any action that needs to be taken, if there is a phone call required, if there is a meeting to be asked for, it is being asked from a higher level of perspective and a higher level of consciousness. Excuse me. Therefore, it will be dealt with in a higher level of your expression, and it will become easier and easier for the action parts of this. So don't avoid going back to visit a timeline for fear then that, oh my gosh, I might have to do something. You first have to go and be there so that you can extract that moment, that moment. And hopefully, once you extract something, it's a done deal and you're at that 0 point and you can release and let go of that timeline and shut it down. And it just simply means you're not shutting down your entire timeline. You're just shutting, you've got this timeline, your present moment. You just had this like weird thing, these frays coming off, and and that's fraying. So and these timelines are going off in an opposite direction from where you are right now. Therefore, it's not, doing any disservice by cutting that timeline off. Therefore, it's not sucking your soul energy by just feeding it in the background. Okay. Tara, what a great analogy. Did anyone else just go and close all of the open apps on their phone? It's funny though, actually, now that I think about it, I left a bunch open to show you guys that, and it's driving me crazy. There's like something in the back of my mind. So I just shut mine down too. So thank you for that. I'm not the only crazy one on here. Crazy and like the good, not the good, not that there's bad, but crazy and like I'll take it. I'll own my crazy. I love my crazy. Soul retrieval is a wonderful self-care practice. Yeah, Christine. Yes. Exactly. That, and then really, I'm like processing that because it's like wanting to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to go in. Not that I don't want to go, but I want to keep this, kind of keep this. But yes, like what you just said, Christine, going down the soul retrieval piece, that's a really deep, like a deep rabbit hole to go down. So like that's what we're doing here, y'all, is like retrieving fragments of your soul that are like feeding, these different timelines that you've now in some way consciously redirected yourself from. But when you redirect, there's still that soul particle that's still like, supporting that timeline. So we want to pull that back by cutting it off. So yes, that's how I see it. That's how I explain it. My words may not be exactly like how you all or like, and you would describe it, but that's how I see it and describe it. So it's just my words. I really can't handle my current employment right now, and I'm working so hard to find peace before moving on. Yeah, Alicia, what pops out at me is working so hard. Like it does feel like we're working hard, but sometimes we can work so hard that we work against ourselves. So sometimes it's just going into the job and just being at peace, is getting it done. And, like I know it's the words are so easy to say, but it's like it is extremely this is where our like the consciousness of who we are in every moment is like it's such a fine line between working hard to do this work and working hard where you're like trying to force it. So just, and I don't know if that's what it is, but for some reason working so hard stuck out at me. So just be with the job as best you can, because the more you can be at peace with it, then the next evolution starts to unfold from there. Michelle says, so cutting etheric cords would be effective to help shut down old times. Yes, Michelle, exactly. Like different ways of saying exactly what we're talking about here. Yes. Brenna, okay, so question, should we be actually sitting down and walking backwards through our lives and clear all the shit? Brenna, you can. And I also think this goes back to like how if you sit down and walk backwards through all your lives, I think that's kind of working so hard to like, I'm just going to do it the right. I'm just going to just go through all and do all the work so I can just be done. I think that to me, it feels more like working so hard, almost frenetically. Allow this process to be how you work with your teams, your angelic teams, your guides, however you want to put it. They will direct you to the timelines that are requiring the shutting down of, so I would almost sit back, relax, and enjoy like where they take you, and it could be, Brennan, when you're doing someone's hair and all of a sudden you're taken back to a previous, and again, this is the fine line between the monkey mind. Is the monkey mind just like, reiterating old poop? Or is it your guides taking you to that old poop so you can be like, what is it still that I have energy about? Oh, here I am. So you can take it. If it is starting out to be monkey mind, that's when you pull it over to the other side of the expression and work with whatever it was that was creating the energy. So when you clear it and you come to that 0 point and you're like, "Ah, I feel okay with this now," then you clear it. So, but right now, I think this is why the message is what it is, because it's a conscious tune in of where your guides are taking you, and it's designed at this time to help you build confidence in your guides. And we, on the ascension circle gatherings, we've been talking about that, having trust and following it. If you get the nudge to stop and get gas, but you're like, I have a half a tank, you stop and get gas because you're getting nudged. If you're nudged in some random way to go and revisit a previous lifetime, to put something at peace and to be able to shut down that timeline, you go with it and you build confidence and you build that relationship, that communication that gets stronger and stronger. So I would just pay attention to where you're being taken, telepathically, mentally and physically, or mentally and emotionally in your day, but be conscious when you are traveling there, because you still want to be present in the moment. Okay, so a lot of my work is done when I'm just sitting, because I can be present in that moment, but still, I can still be, in this other past lifetime doing that work. If I'm out and about in the town here, I'm probably not going to be taken by my guides to a lifetime to shut down, that's or a timeline to shut down, that's more intricate, because, or it needs more work, because I can't then be present to walking around and watching what I'm doing and being courteous to people and things like that. So it's going to be this meandering through the day, and they will know, your teams will know when they can take you on a little side trip to another time for you to heal and to let go of that time, that timeline. Kill watchers, true. The subconscious screaming to be thrown light, so past cords will be cut and no more energy can be stolen. Exactly. Yep. Oop. Yeah, allow the flow, Brenna. I just saw that. This thing skipped up again. It does that weird thing. And then I lose everything. I found that in the space of forgiveness and self-love, I have not a lot of energy or thoughts from the past. Not sure I want to go digging up bones, if you will. Yeah, so don't. And again, I want to, like, this is only. It's not for us to go searching, like sniffing out stuff. Like, don't make it harder. I don't think this is to make things harder for us. It's to just allow us, our brains and our minds and our hearts, to know that, hey, our teams are saying we might be taking you to a couple different timelines. It's okay to come with us. It's just to give you the heads up that this could be happening and probably will be happening. So don't go sniffing it out, because I do think it makes it harder, and it makes working harder. Kazembe says, visiting the past from a higher perspective helps us to appreciate how far we've come and release that timeline with love. Yes, irrespective of how negatively they were impacted by them. Yeah, exactly, Kazembe. It like really, I mean, and I think that's it. Like, so many of the things that I've like been steered to, I was like, oh gosh, this is still open. This file is still like sucking energy from me. I'm done with that, but at the time it wasn't closed down when I walked away, because there was still energy there. But over, the course of time, I've just forgotten about it. So I'm tardy for the party. That's okay, Sharon. You can get the recording. I love this community. I feel like I can only talk to two people outside of you all here. Yeah, me too. My phone telling me storage is saturated the last 3 days. I know I am saturated too. Yeah, Isabel, that physical world will tell us that it'll reflect what needs to be done within. It's so funny. Sharon, is what my keep saying, no sim installed. Yep, I've gotten rid of the narrative programming. Nice. Yeah. Yeah, Sharon, my favorite quote is, nothing good in life is forced. Yeah, like we don't need to force anything. We're at that point where we just kind of flow with it, and where we are guided to, we peacefully follow, knowing that it from here on out, we already known that. This has been weeks now, months, that we've known, like, from here on out, it is in our highest and best good. It is all good. It's just following that the meandering of the timeline has to get us back on where'd my little thingy go? My little frayed thing. Maybe that's okay. Maybe it's a sign. Oh, maybe it's a sign that we've been unified. But the road, that we're being taken, so to speak, this timeline is just taking us so we can catch up to that unified timeline, our soul timeline. So we're just trying to get back to where we need to be. So as we kind of come down a valley of something, it runs across our roads, like we got to deal with it. And then that's where we stop and we take a look at what's in the pathway. Oh, it's this lifetime. And am I at peace with this now? If not, I'm going to sit here with it and look at it and be like, why do I still have energy around this? And it's just this constant cycle of awareness of where our mind wants to go, and is it really our mind or is it our guides taking us there to clear it? Allow the flow. Yes, the books by Linda Howe are teaching me how to tap into my Akash to see what needs to be healed. Very good, Sharon. I'm not familiar with Linda Howe. Michelle, your words are brilliant and true. I take thank you. I take the energy and create. I make purses and focus on the purse structure and reason out thoughts until the thoughts fade and the purse becomes complete. Oh, and that's the beauty of creativity, Michelle. Like, I mean, one whole facet of life is creativity. And many people in the 3D have completely taken this whole facet out because who's got time for creativity? Or I'm not creative, but doing just what you're saying, like the whole process of creating something, whether it's a hair design, whether it's a painting, whether it's a purse, or whether it's your life. You look at the structure, you look at how what are the bullet points, and then you just get into the process of creating it, and you allow the thoughts to fade, and before you know it, you have this creation in front of you. I think that's a beautiful metaphor. Thank you for sharing that, and I 100% agree with it. Sharon said, Lisa, I have to give big news to an old friend tonight, and I'm calling in her higher self to hear me and connect with me. Ooh, great point, Sharon. I love that. I love that. So, I really like that. And thank you, because that really does resonate, especially for this. So if there are timelines that have to be resolved first, then there might be some doing in that. There might be some conversations. So, Sharon, you make an excellent point that when it comes time for a conversation, that in consciousness, you call in, you're already pretty much in your higher self, but just make sure you're grounded and anchored into that energy, and then anchor that into the other person's higher self, so that you two are meeting in a similar resonance, and it's not like this discordant resonance. Thank you for sharing that, Sharon. That was perfect. Your higher self knows. Yes, you guys have it. I just needed to, I don't even think I needed to, but I think that's what we are all being reminded. I'm not doing anything. I'm just being told what I need to tune into, and thinking, oh, that kind of works. I get that. I'm going to share that with this community and bring my perspective and where I'm being guided. And then you guys come in and you bring your, what's working for you. And that's what our ascension gatherings, our weekly ascension gatherings are like that too. That's when everybody speaks on their process and what's working, and maybe share what's not working. Like then we share. And so when we put these puzzle pieces together, we're coming into more of a system, of a process of the these higher elevated evolutionary leaps that we're being called into. And we are now just being fine-tuned. That's like the most of the work. And if you still feel like you have a lot of work to do, just get to it. You know where you're going. You're going to a higher perspective and a higher reality. So just, clear it. Just clear the stuff and get through it. Get her done. And get to this point where, like, I do feel like I'm being fine-tuned, because the bigness, like all the big things I'm not afraid of that stuff anymore. I'm at peace with a lot of stuff, and man, it feels good to be at peace. And so those things that need to be fine-tuned don't feel like a whole lot of work. They take time. They do take energy to sit with them a little bit, but they're not as painful as they used to be. And that's how I see it, as being fine-tuned. It's just the small things. It's not the abrasive, like purging and the and there might be waves of that, but we know how to do this now. We know how to ride these waves. When pain comes, we know that it's going to be gone here in a little bit. It's just sitting in it. So it gets easier and easier. And the more that we get fine-tuned, the more we just jump into these cycles as we get them, because they are cyclical. Every year we're going to have, this time next year, we're probably going to be talking about the same thing energetically, but just, another, in another way, in another elevated way, because we've gone through a whole year annual, cycle, solar cycle. So we're going to be here again. So where we are now, let's just get her done and get through this cycle and have it be peaceful and enjoy where we are in the present moment, no matter how chaotic things might feel. We carry the peace for this entire planet. And that sounds very dramatic, but we really do. In consciousness, there are those of us who are chosen to be here now in this state of peace, and or generating this state of peace in consciousness, so we can then see it. We can be the reflectors of it in the physical reality. Okay. And then there are those who are here to be the reflectors of the contrast of that. Those who create war, those who fight the war, those who do the war, like they have their role, we have ours. And I am happy to hold the peace for this planet until it catches up to the timeline where we are all unified and we are all living in peace, because that is where we're going. That's where we're going. And I'm so grateful to be on this side of it. Not that there's sides, but you get what I'm saying. I'm glad and I'm happy. And whatever I'm called to do at 3 o'clock in the morning, I am going to do it. And the doing is really just sitting in consciousness and being, courageous enough and bold enough to go to those timelines that still might be a little bit painful. We take care of that shit. We're taking care of it for the entire consciousness of our planet, of humanity. And it's such a big job, and it's such an honorable job. So thank you all for being here. Remember, I will probably not be here tomorrow simply because I don't know what the electric's doing, but I might be. I might just do a surprise one. I don't know if we are up and running. And if you have gotten value from the daily tune-ins this week, I would highly, highly invite you to make a donation to the platform. It does cost money for me to, even though I'm on a free platform called YouTube, I still send out emails. I still have a website. I got clothes to buy. I want to look nice for you guys and not have the sweater on for every single day. It feels like, so, again, it doesn't totally matter, but I do have a life to support. So if you would, like to donate for the platform and to myself for delivering these every single day as much as I can, I would appreciate your donations no matter what it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you all for being here. Thank you for the beautiful Ascension Bank members who we had a beautiful call last night. I'm so great. I went to bed kind of my heart was pulsating, because it was a beautiful conversation. So thanks you all. We'll see you definitely Monday, if not just for a little gathering tomorrow if I can. Okay. Mwah. Have a good one. Bye.